Kia made a mark here in the Indian market by bringing us world premieres of its first product, the Seltos. We also had the global premiere of the Sonet, and now it is the Carens name that is revived right here in India with another world premiere. Mr. Tae-Jin Park, who heads Kia's operations, joins us.
Thank you.
Many congratulations, firstly, and thank you for your time today. The Carens opens a whole new chapter once again for Kia. You've had huge success with all your launches so far. What about the Carens becomes different and special for you?
Because Carens, when we after launching of the Seltos and Sonets, we are very carefully looking for the Indian market, and then there is a huge the fast growing of the RV segment. So we already launching the SUV and the Seltos and the Sonet, but actually there is additional some need with some SUV plus some spacious and safety issues. That is why we are approaching when we developing the Carens. So how we can combine this kind of unmet need from the market, that is the main our target, how we can developing these cars.
A lot of your pre-launch buzz talked about creating a new segment. Tell us how the Carens creates its own segment.
Because this one is have some advantage or a strong point, because normally the SUV is just have a very bold design and very powerful and some strong top the image. But the MPV is only have some spacious, very economical issues. But how we can combine both this one? When we combine this kind of to the different kind of the need from the customer, when we fulfill this kind of a met need from the customer, we can developing new some segment. That is our some strong confidence for this market.
Speaking of that confidence then, what's the kind of plan you have with regard to volume? I won't ask you for a specific number, but would you be just as aggressive as you have been with your other products? Because three-row cars, you know, they have an appeal, there is a certain sale in the market, but nobody has had a massive volume success.
Yes, I know that there is some how can I some limitations of the three-row vehicles, like some of the other OEMs, they are launching this year 7-seaters, but it was the volume-wise it is not so successful. But what we're thinking is when you're adding up the both kind, as I already mentioned, some space and some economic issues and some emotional, and then all those kind of combined, when we can developing the new segment. It's because the young generations, as you know, they are different concept, different approach to the vehicles. When we fulfill some kind of concept of some need, I think that we can developing the new market, expanding the current market also.
One thing I loved in the presentation was, of course, how you've said that safety will be standard, 6 airbags and all the other features across all trims. So that's great. But you've also talked about doing petrol, diesel, automatic, manual, a lot of different variants. And you've talked about the fact that, you know, there is going to be a whole lot inside when it comes to technology, the interface, connectivity, and of course it will have UVO Connect and all of that. So given the kind of combinations and variations, how much pressure does this put on your production?
Well, it was very difficult for us because when we are asking all those kind of different demand from the market and asking to our R&D center, they are very difficult to developing all those kind of features combined together. But anyways, our R&D, they are very helpful for us, and they try their best. I think that this the concept. I cannot say it is a perfect, 100% perfect car, but we did our best to fulfill the customer need.
You came very close to trying to be perfect. That's the important part. Semiconductor shortage continues to be an issue. It's a difficult time for the entire industry, no doubt. You already have a huge demand and a huge waiting on your existing products. Launching a new car in that scenario is always going to be tough. So how are you pulling off a balancing act?
Of course, there is. We are very sorry about the too long time the waiting period for the current models, but we already have prepared very aggressively to increase our production capacity, and then we are also managing now. As you know, the global supply chain of the semiconductor issues is a little bit slightly getting better now. So when we're launching the new models, the Carens, we are also thinking about increasing our production capacity to make short the waiting the customers. I think that we can do that.
But when it comes to sourcing the semiconductors, is there any sort of rethink in terms of either new set of suppliers, or there's some talk about some people now looking at manufacturing semiconductors in India? What's your thought on that?
I think that is some current issues, and the government also very strongly request those kind of demand for the whole of the OEMs in India. So we are also thinking about it, but we did not fix the yet the local supply issues. But anyways, globally we are thinking to increasing the supply to the India. That is why we can say when we have some increasing our the production capacity, we can fulfill those kind of supply from the globally.
Since the time you've launched Mr. Park in India, you've been a very digital brand, you know, very young, very digital, very connected brand. Why then the need, do you feel, to increase your presence across different cities? You've talked about going to 225 cities by the end of 2022. Expanding the network, why is that a priority?
Because as you know, it's the business is always the ongoing business should be. But that is why we have the increasing and give some of the. Of course, when we are thinking about the expanding our dealer networks, we of course the first priority is not for just increasing the sales volumes. We also thinking the first priority is thinking about our dealers' probabilities. Yeah. That is why we are very carefully looking for our each dealers the PMA. But based on those kind of our long-term business plans, that we need those kind of the expansions.
All right. One quick thing, there was a mention from your CEO, global CEO, about Kia's global targets and how there will be complete electrification by 2045. A lot of talk about electric in India, and I know you get this question a lot. When will you have that first product, etc. What is your thinking right now when it comes to India and EV? Especially because, yes, Hyundai just announced its EV plan as well.
Very frankly, most of the OEMs in India, I think that they just thinking about India is too early to talking about the EVs, the business in here. But as you know, the Indian government, they are very strongly pushing the EV as some eco-friendly situation. Our Kia is also have some global EV project, the project under the name of the Plan S. Under the Plan S is the main big pictures, and then we Kia India also have some very specific EV business plan in here. We are very aggressively looking and survey now. I think maybe it's, when it is a good time for us, we will announce as soon as possible also our Kia India, the EV planning in here.
But I'll ask you one question about that only, and that is that, very often from the other OEMs who have brought EVs here, it's a very top-down approach. It's about, just showcasing technology but not really looking at volume. Would you do the same, or would you look at doing something which is a little bit more volume-oriented?
But there are two different kind of approach to the EV. One is a top-down, the other one is a bottom-up as a volume cars. The Tata, for example, like Tata is local productions. They are starting from the bottom as the volume cars with the EV. But we are very carefully looking for what is the best options for us when we compare to what kind of the EV vehicles models we have and what kind of need actually will be happen in the EV market in India. That is when combined together, and then we are looking very carefully which model we will start. And then that means maybe some top-down or bottom-up. It's depending on the market situation.
Fair enough. I'll be watching it very closely. I can tell you personally, for me, two of my absolute favorite cars globally have been the Soul EV and, of course, the EV6. I've been lucky enough to drive the EV6, and it's phenomenal. So can't wait. Last question, your favorite feature on the Carens? What do you like best?
I think the best one is, of course, the 6 airbag. 6 airbag is very important for the families. Okay, safety issue is very important because nobody knows what will happen on the road. But the 6 airbag will be protecting all the families' safety. That is, of course, the features what I really like it here. And then when we starting developing this cars, nobody agreed to the 6 airbag as the standard in Indian market. But I very strongly request to our top management. No. India is also, Indian family, they are very focusing on the safety issues now. It is very important factors. I need the really 6 airbag as the standard, and then they agreed. That is why I think that the safety features is the most important features of the Carens.
You've known me for many years, Mr. Park, so I agree with that. And I couldn't be happier. I think for me as well, one of the the standout things that you've announced today is the safety pack. all the best with both production, the demand that you're going to have, and of course the rollout of the car. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you.